Hello and welcome to this beautiful winter's day. It's finally sunny outside again. It's been grey for days and it makes the whole world a bit darker when it's just grey and grey. So yeah, I'm just outside feeding the birds. But for today's video we are gonna go around the garden and the neighborhood and look for edible plants, because here in winter, is there really anything outside that we can eat? And yes, there is. For all the plants that we're gonna find, I'm gonna tell the names in both English and Danish, because after all, I live in Denmark and there might be some viewers who are Danish. So yeah, I hope you'll enjoy the ride. In this corner of the garden, the kids have a great place to play. But I've noticed a small plant as well, if you can see that. It's called Caucasian Stonecrop, or in Danish it's called stenwood. It's quite nice because it's an evergreen plant, and it's succulent, so it contains a lot of fluid, and it doesn't taste of that much, but it's very crunchy. So that's at least something that I can harvest this winter, just for the fun of it. Yeah. Now we are moving further through the garden, and here's an old abandoned greenhouse, but I've used it to plant strawberries. But next to the strawberries, there's actually loads of wild strawberries, and those you can find in nature as well. Or in wild nature. Everything is nature here. The leaves can be eaten or used in tea. So if you're collecting herbs in your garden for tea, this would be a good one. So here we are again, wild strawberries. And next to the wild strawberries, there's another leaf that's very great in tea, and that's... Sorry, I just got caught by surprise by a horse. Well, this is blackberries, and this is great in tea as well. I'm on my way to a spot that I know where there's usually something to eat, and I just noticed that you can still find dandelions. In Danish they are called mælkebøtter, and you can eat the whole plant, the root and the leaves, but they're absolutely best during spring and summer, where you can find young leaves. Otherwise they are quite bitter, but this is actually okay with the small leaves. And next to them there's cabbage, but you're not gonna find that in the wild. It's because I live close to my parents, so we're just walking next to their garden. Here we have a lot of pine trees, and those are actually some of my favorite trees. They are green here in winter, and you can eat a lot of it, and they're also great for fire making. I'll be making videos about that later on. But for now it's just about the edible plants. And here in Denmark we have a song for Christmas where we sing that først skal træet vises, siden skal det spises. And that means that first you show the tree and then you actually eat it. Most people don't eat it, and it's not that pleasant to eat right now. The pine needles are hard, but during spring you can harvest the pine shoots, and now you can make delicious tea from it. I've read that it's very rich in vitamin C, and you just get the taste of the forest. But you could combine that with the leaves from the wild strawberries, for example. So you just boil some water and put in the pine needles, and then you just turn it off and let it sit for a few minutes and drink it. Another thing you can do with a pine tree is collecting pieces of the bark. I read about something that my ancestors used to do. They used this bark to make bread. So I took it and dried it in the oven for a bit, and then I grounded it into flour. And my wife is great at baking, so I made her bake two similar breads. One without this bark flour, and one with the bark flour. And just to see those two types of bread is quite amazing. We didn't use a whole lot of bark flour, but I'll show you a picture of it. It tasted like the forest, like pine trees, like they smell. I quite liked it. It's very dark bread. My wife didn't like it as much, and we had some friends over who tried it as well, and they thought it was okay as well. And my father told me that during World War II, people used this as a flour as well, because they didn't have that many things to use. Yeah, just some nice bonus info. You can try that as well. I forgot to tell that in summer you can actually collect pine pollen from the pine cones, and you can Google it, or I can show you when it's gonna get summer. But that is very tasty. You can use it for baking or just eating, like some sort of flour. It's yellow and tastes a bit like nuts. It's very good. I just noticed that it's actually possible to find some blackberries that you still can eat. Nice. And then there are raspberry. In Danish it's called hindbær. The berries are long gone, but they are of course absolutely delicious. The leaves can be used for tea now. They're not really nice to eat. They're too hard, and yeah, the texture just isn't great anymore. But that's also something you can find a lot of places. This is a very common plant to find as well. It's called chickweed, or in Danish it's fuglegræs. They can have white flowers. Now they're just green, but those can be eaten all year around. It's great in salad. Yeah, they just taste fresh and green. And if you have grass in your garden, you probably have those beautiful flowers as well, called daisies. In Danish they're called tusindfryd or bellis, and they are edible as well. You can eat the leaves as well, but they are best when they are just young and fresh, not here in winter. Now it's only time for the flowers. Here in Denmark it's quite common to find this flower in a lot of gardens. It's just very, very pretty, as you can see. It's called Marigold. In Danish it's called morgenfrue, and they have flowers during winter, when it's not a hard winter. And it's not right now, but it's actually a pity to pick some of the flowers, but those can be eaten. And it's I've read that it's been called the poor man's saffron, because it can make dishes you make in the kitchen yellow, but they taste good as well. And those can be found during most of the year. I hope you've enjoyed my little foraging trip around my neighborhood. I think it's pretty exciting to see what you actually can find during the winter time to eat. outside. Of course, it's hard to find enough to get a full stomach every time, but it's quite exciting just to add a little something to your food, and it's quite fun to learn about these things and learn what you can actually eat. And how do you learn? I've learned it by talking to people and by using this very smartphone that's recording right now. You can find a lot of apps that actually can identify plants, and then you can look up in books and probably Google as well, but I often just don't trust Google just by default, because people can write whatever they want, so I look it up in books as well, by people who've done this for many years. So it's a fun thing to do, also with kids. I often tell my kids what they can eat and what they don't, and they remember and they tell others, and that's quite fun to watch. But yeah, I hope you found this video exciting, and we'll see you next time.